July 3rd, 1955, Pan Am Flight 914 takes off from New York. An ordinary flight, with 57 passengers and 6 crew members. But this flight never reaches its destination. Disappears into thin air without any signal, without any warning. But the story doesn't end here, because exactly 37 years later, in 1992, the same flight, with the same number, the same plane, suddenly lands at Venezuela's airport. Everything is just as it was, as if time stopped. But the question is, did this really happen? Or is it the biggest social media conspiracy? Did Flight 914 time travel? Or is there a truth hidden behind it that has been kept from the world? Today, we will do a complete analysis of this mystery, with evidence, with logic, and with some secrets, which you won't find anywhere else. Because now, we are going to unveil that secret which the world has kept hidden for years. Let's go. July 3rd, 1955. Around 8 in the morning, there was a bustling crowd of passengers at New York's LaGuardia Airport. It was summer, but a cool breeze was blowing. Pan American Airlines Flight 914, a Douglas DC-4 aircraft, was preparing to take off at its scheduled time. There were 57 passengers on this plane. There were some business travelers, some families going on vacation, and some elderly people going to meet their relatives in Miami. Additionally, on the plane, there were 3 pilots and 3 air hostesses, all experienced and trained. Pilot, Captain Miguel Victor, was an experienced flight commander with 18 years of flying experience. The weather, it was clear, visibility was very good, and there was no storm or technical obstacle. After receiving permission from the control tower at 8:20 in the morning, Flight 914 takes off from the runway and heads south to Miami. The flight duration was about 2 hours and 30 minutes. Everything was going smoothly. But about 1 hour and 45 minutes into the flight, just as the plane was about to enter the Florida airspace, it suddenly disappears from the radar screen. No mayday call from the pilot, no emergency signal, no communication with the tower. Contact. There is chaos in air traffic control. Controllers repeatedly try to contact the flight, but no response comes. Alerts are sent to nearby airports. A search and rescue mission is immediately initiated to track the flight. Coast Guard, Navy helicopters, and even local fishermen's boats were included. A large part of the Atlantic Ocean was searched. Every possible crash site was checked, but no debris of the plane, no fuel stains, and not any bodies. Nothing. They did not find. A few days later, the New York Times printed a headline on it: Pan Am Flight 914, a modern mystery over American skies. And then, 10 days later, when all hopes were shattered, it was officially declared a missing aircraft. Families were informed that their loved ones were no longer in this world. Some held funerals, some waited for a miracle. But time passed. In government files, this case was gradually shelved. It was written in one line: presumed crashed, no survivors. Case closed. But was it really case closed? Or was this just the beginning of the mystery that was going to resurface before the world 37 years later? 9th of September, 1992. Location: Simón Bolívar International Airport, Caracas, Venezuela. Morning time. Air traffic was operating normally. But then something strange appears on the radar screen in the control room. An old aircraft. A transponder code that wasn't even registered in the system suddenly appears on the radar. Its altitude, heading, and speed all seemed like those of an old aircraft from 1950. The ATC officers were surprised. At first, they thought it might be an old military plane. Or perhaps a private company's aircraft that had entered the airspace without permission. But when they contacted the aircraft on the radio, the reply that came back, it gave everyone goosebumps. This Pan American Flight 914 is requesting landing instructions for New York to Miami. This is the same flight that disappeared on July 3rd, 1955. The ATC officers were looking at each other with disbelief and fear. Pan Am, but it shut down in 1991. 914? Is this possible? They immediately checked the records for identification and found that this transponder code, call sign, and even the pilot's name Captain Miguel Victor, everything matched with the 1955 Flight 914. Security forces were hastily alerted. Medical teams and immigration officers were stationed near the runway. The aircraft was immediately allowed to land on runway 5. As soon as the plane landed, people's first attention went to the design of the aircraft. An old Douglas DC-4 with faded paint and old Pan Am markings, rust on the wings, dust outside the engine, and the strangest thing, no modern navigation system. The plane stops, the gate opens, and the passengers who come out. Their clothes, their suitcases, their tickets, everything was from the 1950s. Women in knee-length skirts, men in fedora hats and vintage suits. Tickets were handwritten. No barcodes, no boarding passes, just paper stubs. A woman was carrying a child in her lap. The child was about 3 years old at that time, which means their year of birth should have been 1952. The airport staff was stunned. The passengers were anxious. They were asking, "Are we in Miami? Why does this place seem different? Why are you all wearing such strange clothes?" Right after takeoff at 9:15 in the morning. The media gets the news, and within a few hours, headlines like, "Time travel plane lands after 13 years" go viral across America and then the world. Cameras start flashing, breaking news airs on TV channels, and there's a flood of phone calls and government agencies. But there was another twist in this strange story. When immigration officer Juan de la Corte approaches the plane and begins questioning, the pilot suddenly closes the door and the plane takes off again without any permission. Everyone is surprised, stunned, and just keeps looking towards the sky in fear. That plane was never seen again. After such a mysterious event, the world is divided into two parts. Some consider it proof of time travel, while others call it a hoax or rumor. But did this event really happen? Did that flight really tear through the walls of time and return? Or was it a deeply crafted script with a different purpose? In the next part, we will learn about the biggest witness related to this story, secret government documents, and the newspaper story that gave birth to this mystery. The beginning of 1993. A year had passed since that mysterious event when Pan Am Flight 914 from 1955 suddenly landed at Caracas Airport and then took off again without any prior notice. This incident had gone viral in the media like a fictional story or an urban legend. Some people were considering it as proof of time travel, some as an alien encounter, and others as a brilliantly fabricated hoax. But the real twist came with the explosive article from Weekly World News. A well-known American tabloid, Weekly World News, published a story on this mystery for the first time in 1993. The headline was, "Plane missing since 1555 has landed in 1992. Passengers are still young." This report made several sensational claims. The plane that landed at Caracas Airport was taken over by government agencies. The passengers were still the same age as they were in 1955, meaning they hadn't aged at all. The pilot and some passengers confirmed traveling in time and said that no time had passed for them. Along with the report were blurred pictures of passengers in old clothes and an alleged interview with ATC officer Juan de la Corte, in which he said, "I heard it myself. They said they were going from New York to Miami, but all of this was from 1955. Time had stood still in front of me." Juan de la Corte, the ATC supervisor at Caracas Airport, suddenly becomes the main figure of the whole mystery. He claimed that when Flight 914 landed, its technology, color, sound, everything was old-fashioned, and then when the gate opened, passengers came out as if they were from the set of a vintage film. Juan also said that after the flight left, he was pressured to remain silent by the American and Venezuelan governments. He was made to sign NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, and was told that if he spoke to the media, both his job and life would be in danger. However, Weekly World News published all this, and the story spread like wildfire among the people. Secret meetings of America and Venezuela. Sometime later, Some whistleblowers revealed that the governments of both countries were engaged in secret meetings on this topic. CIA and FBI. Both agencies were involved in the investigation. Some reports claimed that Flight 914 was taken to a secret military base after landing. The passengers were kept at a secret location where they underwent medical and psychological testing. The entire events of the flight are being investigated as time dilation or a dimensional rift. But as the media pressure increased, the government dismissed it as a fabricated story, saying that no flight had landed, there were no passengers, and none of the photos were real. But the question remained, if all this was false, then who was Juan de la Corte? And would a person risk their career and life just to make up a story? This mystery has divided human thinking into two parts. Skeptics who have completely considered it a lie. According to them, Weekly World News is a tabloid known for fake stories and entertainment. Believers who think that governments are hiding this truth? Because if things like time travel or multidimensional portals come to light, the entire system of the world will be shaken. And even today, when we search for Flight 914 on the internet, thousands of blogs, videos, Reddit threads, and conspiracy forums ask the same question. Did Flight 914 really time travel? Is that flight still roaming somewhere in the skies today? When a flight takes off in 1955 and returns in 1992, it is natural for questions to arise. Was it just a rumor or something beyond our understanding? That's why scientists and mystery experts proposed several theories. Time dilation, where the speed between space and time changes. Wormhole, cosmic shortcut that may have taken the plane directly to the future. Multiverse, in which it got stuck in another reality and then returned. Alien abduction theory, where the flight was captured and experimented on. And finally, the fully fake theory, where everything is called an imagination. However, there is no definite proof, but also no solid refutation. The name Juan de la Corte. Those reports, those statements, together could not completely erase this story. The story of Flight 914 still challenges human thought. Was it proof of time travel? Or just a mystery that was never meant to be solved? Whatever the truth may be, this incident taught us that the technology and logic we have may still be failing to understand every layer of this universe. If you liked this video and want to delve into such unsolved mysteries, then subscribe to 148 History 2.0 now, where every story is not just a story, but a quest. Press the bell icon so that you don't miss the next mystery. Comment and tell us, do you believe that Flight 914 truly returned from the future? See you with the next mystery. Until then, remember, there are some mysteries for which history has no answers, they are just felt. Jai Hind.